This is Jock of bashandslash.com. Welcome to Bash. Make sure that you are on the winning side when you game. Chances are that the winning side is the side that is using voice comms. Our friends at typefrag.com can help you with that. After all, they are the #1 Ventrilo server provider. Don't forget to get 10% off your first month subscription by using the coupon code BASH at typefrag.com. Get your clan or team on Vent from Typefrag and win. Today, we're going to talk about Homefront right here on Bash.
UCAV sequence initializing. Initiating UCAV viewport. Missile launched. Target damage confirmed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bash. This is Jock of bashandslash.com. Tonight, we lurch forward yet again to the year 2027. And welcome back the folks from Homefront, the new future war shooter from Chaos and Digital Extremes. I'd like to first introduce PC producer and business relations for Chaos Studios game Homefront. It's Edmar Mendizabal. Edmar.
Very good. Hey, welcome. Thank you for having us, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. How's everything going, by the way?
Great. Definitely, we're excited to talk to you guys today about what's coming out, but definitely feel good. We had a little bit of a break after we released the game, but not too long so that we can focus on the patch, but definitely things feel at a much nicer pace of development now that we got everything out there in the wild, so we're happy.
Outstanding. I mean, last time you guys were on, we had Jeremy Greiner, also known as Chefs, Chaos's community manager on. We had Hayden Mulholland, lead programmer, and Simon King, the PC producer. Today you have a whole cast of people as well crammed into the booth here, and I think Hayden is back. Maybe you can do the introductions, Edmar, since...
Yeah, sure. So Hayden Mulholland is joining us. He's the lead tech on Homefront for PC. Over at Digital Extremes. So we work very closely together. Actually, all the guys in the podcast, we work very closely together on a daily basis. And Hayden basically helps manage all the programming that's happening, and also helping us to try to figure out what makes the most sense in terms of getting things in at the right time. And he's I can honestly say he has been brilliant and continues to be. So we're definitely very happy to have him on the team. And Hayden is just all around great, very dedicated. He works all hours. I can ping him, and he will confirm at middle of the night, random questions, and he's always there. So he's very strong part of the team. So we have Hayden, and then Jason DeVille. Actually, I'll save the best for last, Paul. Jason DeVille has been instrumental, and he specifically for PC guys, he's been helping us to weapon balance all the damage for all the weapons and vehicles we have in the game. And he can go more into it in a minute, but he does this by speaking a lot to the community, looking at the forums, sending out surveys, also looking at some behind-the-scenes data that we capture in the game itself. So that's something that's always evolving. Actually, it doesn't just happen and then we put it to rest. It's always changing based on that feedback we're getting, and as we introduce new things to the game, sometimes balance needs to be tweaked a little bit. And and we can talk about it a little later. We've definitely made some significant changes since we released in only a few months. And then Paul Orobine is the lead QA guy over at DE for Homefront, and he has been also extremely helpful, as with the rest of the team, on making sure that the game is being tested thoroughly. Everything we're adding is not breaking anything. When we do break things, he helps us isolate the issue, gives the programming team information they need to be able to fix it. He's also very active on the forums, picking up feedback from the community on what they're seeing in terms of any kind of bugs or just feature requests. So Paul has been very instrumental part of the team, working with us at Chaos and also working with THQ Corporate who has their own QA team. So it's a nice balance. We have, like I said, a really great dedicated team for Homefront PC, and the three guys on the podcast have been basically responsible for making Homefront what it is today for PC.
Well, that sounds fantastic, and I really applaud them and appreciate their hard work. And we're really going to crank it here on this podcast right now because we're heading into a May 2-4 weekend here in Canada, and I want to give my friends in London, Ontario here a chance to enjoy it. They've been working, as you said, overtime to get this game out and get us a game that we can go out and do some serious fragging, and I really appreciate their work. In fact, I wanted to go over some of the things that have been happening on the Homefront front, as it were. The first is really great news. I mean, the THQ, the publisher, and you just mentioned THQ, is reporting that they dominated FPS sales in March. I'll quote Brian Farrell, the CEO of THQ. He said, "We had the top-selling game in March with Homefront. We were number one. We crushed the competition here and in the UK and in other markets that we track." How was that news received?
Oh, we were psyched. So we knew early on that we had some really good reception among some FPS players. We had pretty good sales after just even the first few weeks of the game. So when we saw that the later number, that I think we hit 1 million pretty quick, and then when we saw the latest number that it was over 2.5 units were shipped, we were definitely psyched. I think that it's when you work on a game for as long as we did on Homefront, and you never know what's going to happen when it gets out there to the public and in their hands, and they get to fool around with it and have fun. And I think we because it's a new IP, a new game and a new franchise, new story, and I think we offer some things which are a little different from some other FPS games. You never know how those things are going to be received. So I think we were really happy. Obviously we had some mixed reviews from critics and also some hardcore fans, and some of that definitely was something that we took very, we read all those reviews very carefully and make sure that we are aware what things make sense, what doesn't make sense. I think on the PC side, we did a tremendous job in not making the game a port, and that it does stand on its own as a PC game, and our patchwork since then really demonstrates that. But I think that, yeah, we're just excited. I don't know how Hayden and the other guys feel about, seeing the game do so well early on. I think that's it's an achievement to turn a profit at this point, being that it is a new game and a new franchise. So it feels good.
I'd definitely like to hear from Hayden, because I mean he put a lot of blood and sweat into the game. I mean, how did you feel after it was released?
We're very excited with how well it was received, both by fans and by critics. Some mixed reviews, I guess, but in general, I think it was very, very positive, especially for a very new franchise. And for like a realistic current-day shooter, there haven't really been many major entries into the market for several years. And for Homefront to have done as well as it has done is very exciting for us.
Why do you think it's so difficult? I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but why is it so difficult? Why are we as gamers so reluctant to pick up new games or do new things? I've heard this. I remember I was sort of talking about it in one cast a few months ago, because JD 2020 said the same thing. Gamers tend to be very reluctant to do some out of the box playing, if I want to mix metaphors there. Do you guys have any sort of insider understanding of how the hell it is that we think out here?
When one releases games in the same genre we have, being realistic current-day warfare, there's a lot of games out there that are of a very high caliber. They're in fact probably the premier titles in this industry. When one releases in that same genre, the immediate basis for comparison is those other games. So to not have a similar level of quality at least is something that people will notice and take very seriously. So that's, I would say, is partially discouraging. But also trying to make original content in a genre like this can be difficult because it's been so well explored. So I'd say in terms of avoiding criticism, it's quite difficult. And getting something fresh and new can be kind of tricky, but I believe we've done a very good job of that.
What were the challenges after the game was released? I'm sure there must have been quite a few, because you never know what to expect once the game is released. Did you have any surprises
Cheating. I think cheating. I think we knew cheating was obviously with PC games. That's one of the biggest things you have to deal with, and it's unfortunate, but it's it's what it is. But I think that we didn't anticipate the level that we actually saw. So that was a little surprising and disappointing because that really affects the game for everybody. Unfortunately, I wish we could just. I'd be happy to put aside a whole bunch of servers that are just for cheaters, and then let them hang out, that do whatever they want, and then let the other community play on non-cheating servers. But right now, there's no way to do that. So, I think that was my biggest surprise. I don't know about you guys.
I think you just hit on something, Edmar. I think if somebody put together like a tournament for hacks.
Yeah, it's kind of like legalizing drugs.
I'm serious. I think that would be a great thing because you'd focus their attention on something other than
right. No, totally. I think one of the things we have been doing is, and Hayden has been very smart about the way he's implemented some things, is you got to think outside the box because it's always a cat and mouse game with cheaters. And unfortunately, as you know, there's even the biggest networks, government or private industry, get hacked into, and there's not a way to make it 100%. So we just try to implement a bunch of tools that make things a lot easier to deal with.
PS3, right?
Yeah, yep. Among the most recent, but it happens government also. Look at I don't know. There's loads of examples out there. So I think with gaming, it's just something that we just have to continue put up more defenses against. And I think we've done pretty good as of lately. I think that after the initial feedback came in that it was so rampant on some areas that I think we attacked it pretty strong and fast.
I can definitely vouch for that. And we're going to talk about that in a few seconds as well, because I wanted to get into some of the fixes that have been put into place. Let me just say that the game itself reminds me of the reasons why I fell in love with FPS in the first place. It's because that's really the goal of this cast, is really to talk about the game, and the game itself is fast paced, which is something that really I love as a running gunner. It's very fast paced. For me, that's what I enjoy about it. The guns are very fun to shoot. You need a fair amount of precision to frag people. There's a lot of really cool stuff that goes in your face kind of stuff, and there's a lot of really cool, sort of like long distance fragging that you can do with this game, which I really like. The maps are good looking. They're large. They're bright. They're filled with cover, and this is one of the huge strengths of this game, because cover in the game, even though the guns are somewhat lethal, it's the cover and how smart players are at getting behind that cover. I mean, that's what gets you to win. So good tactics, use of cover, lets you win. When you release the game, this is what I see in the game. When you release it, sometimes what you've been working on for X number of years or months or whatever changes once you've released it. And I'm just sort of wondering, are you guys seeing the same game that you were working on? Did it change once it went out into the wild, so to speak? I mean, do you see the same game? Do you enjoy where it is now? I mean, maybe we should talk to the balance guy about that, because a lot of, I think, what the game becomes is a balance thing. So I don't know if Jason is... interested in tackling that.
The game, I guess it depends on the play style. As you mentioned, if players are willing to jump in and use that cover, which is intended. A lot of the complaints we see on the forums are, you die too quickly. And again, this is because people really aren't utilizing the tools initially. They aren't utilizing the tools that we've put in place. The game plays a little differently than some of the bigger games. People just taking time and learning those tools and using those tools to the best of their ability to help them. Again, we see all different types of gameplay styles, and I think we did a good job, and I think we're continuing to do a good job with the balance. I don't know if any other guys have anything to say about that.
Well, what do you think? Well, I'm curious. What did you think about the initial backlash over the sniper rifles? Do you think that was basically a relatively small but vocal group of players, or do you think that represented, a balancing that we had to fix for everybody?
I think most of the initial feedback, again, was seen on the forums, the Steam forums in particular, and most of the people that do go to those forums are going there because they have an issue with the game, and they're going to make it vocal. But we did address that immediately. That was by far the biggest point of contention, I think, and we played around with it. I think not having an open beta too kind of was it was a little difficult. We balanced the game specifically. Well, not specifically, but we balanced it using a closed beta test group, and the months and months of work that we did with them, and we finally, released it to the public. Obviously, the different styles of gameplay were going to be that much more noticeable because we've been balancing for that particular team. And I'll tell you, the sniper rifles were balanced. We felt they were balanced, but again, they weren't balanced exactly how everyone, was going to use them.
That's a good point, actually, because we did spend a lot of time working with a pretty significant closed beta group, but the closed beta players are pretty hardcore in general. so they might not represent, or they definitely don't represent the general PC gamer. So I think that's something. I think that's something we'll do different next time. Yeah, it's a good point.
Did that balance sort of process occur like on a console, or was that on a PC, or both, or?
Well, we balanced specifically for PC.
Really?
Yep, we did. Over here at DE, we did. So there was a number of different tools we used for balancing. The main two, I guess, were data mining tool, as well as a significant amount of feedback. So basically how the process worked here is daily game tests, gameplay tests with the closed beta group. From there, I would compile surveys. And with those surveys, I would put them together and distribute those to the team, and we would discuss them. From there, we would pull the data mining results as well and compare those against the surveys. So it worked quite well for those few months that we were balancing. But again, I guess the one area we were missing was just the different gameplay styles that we would see once the game went live.
Luckily, that's also one of the easiest things to address in patching. So that's
right.
It's pretty quick to be. It's pretty easy to be reactive to that stuff. So that's a good thing. And we actually implemented some tools. So the weapon damages started with the console, and then we took a look at that and then adjusted from there. So there was a bunch that needed to happen to because obviously console aiming is totally different. So I think and we had some good help from the from Cass as well in helping us make sure that we were able to adjust balance for PC and make it make it independent of the consoles anytime something was introduced. So that was.
Definitely, there was a lot of work put into the balancing on the PC side. When I did see those initial values from the console, we knew immediately that something needed to be done and needed to be tailored for PC, and it was months of work and lots of long hours. So you can rest assured that balancing was definitely something we didn't take lightly.
Yeah, and it's still ongoing.
It is.
I definitely found the snipers to be a bit of a challenge early on. I think the biggest problem for me early on, though, was the mouse acceleration. I found that to be a bit of a challenge, but as soon as you guys, I think one of the very first things that you guys did, I think, was actually to not make it default, or at least put a menu item for mouse acceleration, because that for most sort of hardcore guys, we take off any acceleration we can find at all on our systems. Right down to Windows executable. We'll go into that and change. So having an acceleration on the mouse was just driving me crazy, and I'm glad we removed that. That's actually the very first item I think in our Homefront forums is how to remove that. So because it makes the game a lot more difficult to aim, because it's one of the strengths of Homefront is the ability to aim. It's the ability to ping people off over distance, and that I think that's one of the great points of Homefront, actually.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think that those kind of items where we've been continually adjusting and adding based on feedback we're getting from people like yourself and on the forum. So it's really great to get people's ideas and see what works. And I think we've done a pretty good job at adding a lot of stuff post-release.
Well, like I said, this game brought back some of the sort of gameplay fun that has been missing in recent shooters for me. It gives me the impression that it was made by gamers, people who were sort of used to playing these games, and it gives the FPS community a lot of what it was looking for initially, especially on the online side of things. Was there anything that you were trying to stress with the multiplayer? I mean, I'm just looking at philosophy right now. What were the main priorities for online play? What were you trying to stress the individual? Were you trying to stress clan interaction? What were you looking for?
On the PC, we went for a full PC experience that was like designed through and through to have a very PC-friendly interface in terms of joining games, and also making the most of the platform in terms of the social networking functionality that Steam provides in the form of groups, as well as other things. In terms of the gameplay, though, we did go for a squad-based kind of approach for PC. We do a lot more squad-based spawning, more squad-based UI and squad management options and that kind of thing. So in the long run, we're trying to make the gameplay shift more and more towards squads as opposed to teams.
I think that's what would appeal, I think, to a lot of the clans out there, because about, I don't know, was it maybe 3-4 years ago, the game started to change, and a lot of the clans, and it's essentially the FPS community was just a bunch of clans, people getting together, renting a dedicated server, and things started to change a little bit, and now you don't see a lot of those huge clans that used to be around back, in the early 2000s, and I think it's because of the fact that games now don't seem to stress, that sort of interaction, that ability to sort of like group together, and that's why I was wondering if the stress now is more on that, because I think that's what will make the clans return, and if you get clans returning, there's going to be more attention to your game. So I mean.
Yeah, I think what happened is the console development had really took off, and I think a lot of development studios concentrate on consoles because that's where the sales numbers are, and continue to be. So the PC market, I think, got a little bit left out in the cold. But I think that's been unfortunate, and hopefully, there are going to be more titles that turn that around, because I think the PC market is it's a fantastic community, and I think that a lot of stuff that's learned from PC and a lot of hardcore players can be lessons that improve the console game as well. So even though you're not hitting the same sales, I think you're learning a lot. You can also be much more reactive with patches and fixes and tweaks on the PC than you can on the consoles due to the certification process. So I think the PC market is the PC development is just it's a great place to do things and to improve and build and also learn that I think those things carry over very well to consoles. But I think you just saw a lot of people putting focus on the console side, and these things just don't carry over. A lot of people saw there are games that were just totally 100% ports of console, and that just doesn't work well for anybody. So I think hopefully we've shown that you can put a lot of emphasis on PC and still keep the gameplay consistent with the console side, but also have a very unique PC feeling to the game, and also add those features like dedicated server tools and Archon and game settings that people expect on the PC but have been missing for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. You stole the words right out of my mouth, because I wanted to talk about the fact that Homefront's philosophy on giving players and admins choices, I think, was one of the great things that has come out of Homefront. The lack of preferred ISPs, server customizations and stuff like that you allow. I think is great. It harks back again to that sort of style of shooter that we've been used to that had disappeared somewhere. In a couple of years ago, and now we've got something back, so that this is really great. But I want to get to what we came here to talk about. One of the issues that always seems to come up when a new game releases revolves around how serious a game's dev is at patching that game, and in that regard, I wanted to get you guys to tell us about the great news of the latest patch that came out for PC. I think it's 1.0.4. If I'm not mistaken. And I'm sure you've had a lot of player feedback since the game is released, and I'm assuming some of that feedback must have translated into game changes.
Absolutely.
What have you been hearing from players?
Well, first, so on player feedback, including the how you mentioned before, how we used a lot of we opened the door to a lot of game server providers. All that stuff comes from really talking to people and talking to fans and players and say, hey, what would you guys like to see? And people told us that they'd rather have their choice of GSPs. So that's when we started working with a lot of GSPs. And with the patches we've been doing have been very dependent on feedback from the community, as well as stuff from our designers too that they wanted to do but couldn't squeeze in due to time, and so we wanted to add that stuff in later. But a lot of it comes from the community, and Hayden probably could go through some of the stuff, but I think that I think each patch, considering we've only been out for a few months, to have the number of patches we've had and with the kind of items in each patch, I think it's been impressive, to be honest. So I'm very happy that we've been able to do this stuff, and a lot of it does come from the community for sure.
Balance.
We're very happy with the patches so far. We've been able to push out, I think, about 3 major ones and a few minor ones along the way so far, addressing various issues such as the one you mentioned earlier with the mouse acceleration option, as well as a lot of gameplay things, slight bug fixes, things like that. So I think the game has evolved quite significantly, even from the day that it was released.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I think for me, like big picture now, 104 has come out. I see one of the big, and maybe I can get your take on things. But for me, when I look at the changes in 104, a lot of them seem to be balance improvements. What do you guys feel the purpose of 104 is? What are you trying to address? Is it just more like a general patch, or?
From our point of view, it's about keeping the game as fresh as possible by introducing a lot of new options that can be used on the server to tailor the way that the game plays out. Things like increased weapon damage, increased recoil, reduced UI elements, decreased visibility of what you see on the minimap in terms of like players' little blips on it and so on, as well as other enhancements like the ability to switch on forced first-person cockpits, forced ace helicopters, as well as other patch requests like louder footstep volumes, for example.
I wonder who could have asked for that.
To customize the servers to exactly how they want the game to play.
Let's actually look at in the details, because that's what we do best here, is look at little minute details, because the devil's in the details. But let's look at balance improvements, and first off, I wanted to tell you that I had an email the other day from a guy named Crass. Of the Old Fart Squad. That's a great name for a clan. I think it used to be called the Old Fart Battalion, but then they had a chili cookout. Now it's just down to a squad. Anyway, Crass said, quote, "I have been enjoying the game more since they nerfed the sniper rifle. They seem to have nerfed the Diablo and the Vector. These are SMGs, I think. And hopefully they will keep tweaking the balance." So obviously, here's another guy who had been, I guess, hard done by the snipers. And the snipers, the M110, the 200, they used to lead the charge in number of kills in Homefront during the early days. And now I see the M4 coming up pretty fast. The M110 dropped a bit. The 200 is still up there. We talked about nerfing the sniper. Perhaps it was a little bit overdone, maybe. Did the I know in 103, when patch 103 came out, there was also some balance tweaks. I think you cranked up the RPG a bit, lowered the 200 and the 110. Are you happy now with where the and now I guess I'm not sure what you're doing with the sniper now in 104. Maybe we could talk about that. The 200. Are you increasing or decreasing the sniper rifle strength now for 104?
Well, we're always looking at the sniper rifles, so we're always tweaking and trying different things. How they feel now are basically what you're going to see, unless the community again is asking for different things. Possibly we could introduce some additional features to the sniper rifles in the future. And regarding, I guess, Crass's point about the Diablo early on seemed to suffer from the same issues that the sniper rifles were having, and they seem to be owning. So we looked at that immediately, and basically all we had done there was just played around with the range a little more to bring the damage range in a little closer to make it more lethal within closer distances, to be a little more realistic to what the actual weapons attributes are. So perhaps that's what he was seeing with the Diablo and the Vector.
Right, but I see the 200 being right at the top of the list right now in terms of kills, and it still doesn't seem right to me to see the sniper being so dominant in. But maybe that's what you want in the game. That's why I'm wondering: are you still looking to try to sort of, I guess, nerf the 200, or do you like where it is? Because I think in 104, are you increasing the damage values versus infantry?
Yep, we've increased some of the damage values. I think with the M200 specifically, and maybe the sniper rifles in general, a lot of the feedback we're seeing is that maybe not enough sway. So that's something we could possibly look at eventually as well, is going that route to increase the difficulty with them. And that's maybe all it perhaps could be. So definitely something we'll continue to improve upon.
Yeah, personally, I'd love to see the snipers more difficult to shoot. I think it would be, personally, I would like to see a lot more difficulty put into them. Early on, they were just too easy to get kills with, and I just tried to stay away from them, and because I wanted to do some running and gunning, and certainly on the bigger maps. It was very difficult with all this. Everybody wants to be a sniper, just hang back and just shoot the poor grunts charging them. But I think it just got out of balance there. And I think right now I sort of enjoyed where we were. Seeing them go back up is going to be a little tough, I think.
I don't think that the snipers will go too far back up in terms of balance. We do get a lot of feedback both ways on the sniper issue, both from snappers complaining that the weapons are not quite as effective as they were, as well as players who are complaining about snappers being too effective. Generally, being one-shotted is not that fun. So with that in mind, we try and make it as good an experience for everyone, both snappers as well as ordinary players.
Right, and I noticed the M4s and the ACRs are gonna be pumped up a little bit, which is great news because I'm an ACR player. I love that gun. It's excellent, both close and at distance. I really do enjoy it a great deal. One of the things that doesn't show up, I think, on the list, and maybe I missed it, is the M16. Are you planning on doing anything with the M16? Because a lot of people have told me they just love the gun, but it's just not that effective. Have you heard that at all, or?
Yeah, we've heard that for sure. Again, with the forum feedback, what I've done recently is put up specific weapon balance surveys with each weapon class, and I'm pulling information from that and making changes based on that. I don't want to speak specifically of what's coming because it's still kind of being tweaked. But yeah, we're definitely looking at the M16 and some of the assault rifles.
Ed, Mark, can we talk about that? The damage charts? Can we talk?
Yeah,
about
so
that?
we're definitely going to release one, and it was brought to my attention by you actually a little while back in a conversation that there are a couple fan sites that have great weapon charts for other games. So I thought it'd be a great idea for us to come out with our own official one. So we're just going to tweak it now so that the latest information is in there. But I sent you over a draft copy so you can kind of get a look at it. But hopefully we'll be releasing that by the time this podcast comes out. It'll be on our wiki.
I think that's
awesome.
And
we'll update that too as well when there is changes. So
I think that's awesome. By the way, the in-game when you see, when you select a weapon and you get the various damage stats for the weapon, are those actually like updated with like actual values, or is that just a graphic? Because it'd be great to see that thing sort of be kept up to date with any patches. I don't know how that's generated. Is that just a picture, or?
You're talking about the
when you're in the menu and you select a weapon, you usually get some stats on the get some bars for.
That actually should always be grabbing the latest. It might not be though, actually.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah, I don't know if it is.
Hayden, do you know?
That should be based upon weapon values.
Okay. Yeah, it should be always current. So let us know if you see something that looks off.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in a few games that I know of, that thing is just a graphics. It's nice to see that it's live. Here's another aspect of the game, and that's weapons aside. I found navigating all the peripheral stuff sometimes to be difficult. I notice it with 104 in terms of balance. The peripheral stuff like cluster bombs, the Hellfire missiles, phosphorus, I guess explosions that we get coming out of the WAVs and stuff. It takes a lot more battle points to get access to them. Are these things a bit overused perhaps early on?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely the case. We were seeing a lot of feedback that those were being overused, and the data mining results definitely pointed to that. So yeah, we did look at the BP costs and try to alleviate some of that by raising those costs. And it's hopefully it'll do the trick. Again, that's something we'll continue to work on. If we're seeing those particular items are constantly being utilized, but we'll definitely look at it.
Yeah, just to make it clear, I mean, in game, you have a system where if you perform well, you get battle points in game, and you can actually in-game purchase or acquire equipment, and one of those pieces of equipment can be Hellfire missiles or cluster bombs or phosphorus explosions, like as I said, to go off, and now it'll just be only the folks who are really, really good in game, I guess, get rewarded. But that's a good positive step forward. Right now, how do you see the rock paper scissor balance between foot soldiers, the LAV tank drivers and chopper pilots in game? Do you see all three types of folks in game to be more or less on the same sort of playing field, or do you find one is still better off than someone else?
No, they seem relatively balanced. We'd like to see more, or I'd like to see more, chopper use perhaps. Again, I guess it depends all on play style. Right now, though, it feels like a nice ladder progression, and it seems that infantry, are utilizing some of the air weapons or the air vehicles and ground vehicles, and it seems to be a nice cross-section.
The only complaint, if you want to call it that, was that as I only play foot soldier, I only that's the part of the game that I kind of enjoy. But other people I can see would want to play helos. But I noticed in order to taking out, like if I wanted to take out a WAV or something like really high up there, for example, one of the larger WAVs, you would take 2 proximity missile shots to take them out. But if I try to do that, I announce my presence everywhere, and I usually can only get one off before I get shot from behind somebody. It just seems like that to me. It was just a little bit off. I can't seem to knock out circling drones just because I just can't get the missiles off. There's really no place to hide really in a big server with a lot of folks on it. But in any case, I wanted to focus on the anti-cheat because I know you talked about the first few days. There were not. I didn't find there were a huge number of hackers, but the hackers that were there were annoying. Let me put it that way. In fact, I still see one on your top point list on your site actually, and it was irritating. Admittedly, but lately I haven't seen any. Like any game, I guess nowadays I think what's happening is you really get good players on in servers, and I've even seen some of those guys getting banned by server admins thinking that they're hacking, and it is possibly as a consequence of the experience of those initial few days, which is really kind of a shame. But you've done a considerable amount to try to make Homefront hacker proof, and one of the things that you guys have done in game right now is to improve cheat detection. Maybe I should just let you guys tell me what's going on in the anti-cheat support side of this patch, because that's probably most efficient.
In this patch, we've got global ban list streaming. What a global ban list is it's a ban list managed by a trusted ban list provider, of which there are currently a couple for Homefront, but the primary one, the official one, is Rules of Combat. They maintain a list of known cheaters, which have been found to be confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are cheating via demos, videos, etc., as well as other diagnostic tools we have. And those are then added to the global ban list, which is hosted and the dedicated servers will actually update between rounds, like, the global ban list, in a streaming kind of fashion. That way, all of the global ban lists for all of the servers will now be up to date all the time. So if someone is caught hacking, the community can quite effectively add someone to the global ban list given sufficient evidence so that they will no longer be a problem.
Cool. And, as I said, from what I've seen right now, I haven't seen a blatant cheat since the first couple of weeks, I think. And since then, the only thing that's been ticking me off is really good Homefront players. And I think
we've been very happy with how it's turned out. I think the first month was a little bit rough, but once we had a bit of a chance to react, and once also Vac had a chance to react, I think it ended up solving the problem almost entirely. While there are, still cheaters out there, I think that it's a lot harder to get black bar cheating. And also we've also added a bunch of user-based server admin tools, such as being able to vote kick, vote ban, as well as, more regular gameplay things, such as voting on next map and voting to restart a match during gameplay.
Absolutely. I think those are really great community-sided sort of things, because in the past, the community has regulated itself. We've been able to regulate what goes on our own servers if we're allowed to do that. If we're allowed to, we're given the tools to do that. And this sounds like it's a really good step forward. And also on behalf of the guys who are not that great at Homefront like me, I'd like to see some of the guys on your leaderboard be removed. Guys like there's one guy, Something Wong. This guy's almost like epic. He was obviously a hack, and he was a hack early on. But is there any way to remove those guys from the leaderboard? Because
yeah, we can actually. So if you see any players like that, they're suspicious, just send myself a PM on the message board at Homefront. My username is chaos-edmar. So you can just PM that over to me, or it's email to us. We'll take a look at it.
Those players shouldn't be showing on the in-game leaderboard at all. They should be omitted entirely now.
Been keeping you here for a while. I just sort of wanted to quickly talk about new server options, because if I get this right, the options that are coming out now simply seem to increase options for clans, server admins, like we were talking about earlier. And a lot of these changes sound like it's almost like you're enabling some sort of a hardcore mode without calling it hardcore. I don't know if maybe if we could get somebody to talk about the...
Well, so we're basically, these are real, at some point in the future, I think that, hardcore mode is definitely something we want to do. But for now, we thought the quickest way to implement something would be to just give people these options so that they can make add more reality to the way they want in the game. So I think this is something that we went back and forth with a lot and tried to think of all the things that people are really looking for when they want to have their own customizations on the game, and came up with this list. And I think it's great. I think people are going to be psyched. I think the competitive guys are going to be psyched, and just general players are going to just love the different styles of gameplay in the servers now.
Based on what we've had for feedback, a lot of players seem to give feedback based on their personal preference. Weapon damage being a big one. A lot of players like a way more lethal game, and some players generally like to be able to survive a bit longer. So now what we've done is we've just given server admins the choice to be able to have it one way or the other, as well as allow for a lot more customization of the gameplay in general. Things like the M16 complaints, where the M16 is not thought of being lethal enough. This can be addressed entirely if you are on a server that does have an increased damage model.
Absolutely. The only drawback I could see is that the game becomes different depending on what server you're on, but that's the way clans used to like doing it. I mean...
Yeah, we thought about that too, and one thing we've added is a server information screen. So before you spawn in, you're going to see the settings that are on that server. And we hope to take that a bit further in an upcoming patch for the server browser. But right now, when you enter the game, you will see the settings on the server, so you won't be completely blind when you go in.
Right. That's a very important thing, because you'd like to be able to filter out folks who are not playing the so-called standard game, if you will.
Right.
some of the changes in this patch included things like increased weapon damage, which was just mentioned, and increased weapon recoil. Just all these features that sound like, as I said, sound more hardcore-like, and I think would appeal, especially to the guys who initially thought that Homefront would be a great tactical game that they could play, because there are a lot of tactical servers, tactical clients out there, and thought that that's what they would be playing. But then the game played a bit more too much, maybe run and gun like for their tastes. This brings that hardcore feel back, and maybe more tactical feel back, and I think they're really going to enjoy that.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that there's going to be a lot of excitement over it, to be honest, because a lot of these things came directly from the community, like that they were asking for. So, yeah, I think so. I think that we're definitely also paying very close attention and talking to competitive gamers to see what is still needed in the game, so that we can have more support for people who want to do competitive games and tournaments. And we're going to be doing some tournaments in the future, of course, but we wanted to start the ball rolling with these new server settings.
Well, one of the things that I was telling you about was sound in game, and it's something that for the last I don't know, maybe 3 or so 4 years, being able to hear the opposing player coming at you, like literal footsteps when he's close by, seem to have disappeared. We, cynical PC gamers just figured, okay, well, this is just an attempt by most, developers to essentially try to increase the number of sort of stealth ninja-like kills, because everybody thought that, everybody wants to be a ninja after all, right? So they made it easier for you to be a ninja. The reason I started asking is that a lot of developers I've talked to didn't even think that was important, and I noticed in this patch, I think you're bringing that back. I think there's...
Yep. Hayden can talk about it, but that's something that we saw that was being requested, and now it's an option. And Hayden, you want to go into exactly?
Sure. It's another one of our new realism-oriented options. When enabled, one will be able to hear footsteps somewhat louder on all the clients, as well as a slightly larger radius than what it was initially. There were footsteps in the game, although they were relatively soft to how they are now. Now they are quite noticeable, even in the gunfight.
Yeah, it was just a little, as I said, and it's not Homefront. This is every single game I've played for the last 4 years. It seems like, we could not hear anyone coming up behind you, which if you're, if it just feels like you're randomly being killed. There's really that's the feeling. It's nice to know someone's coming, and if somebody beats you fair and square, at least you don't feel so bad about it. I think that was the key, and this is great news actually, and this is totally a reversal of the trend that has been happening. I think it's going to be really well received by folks. Hopefully on the balance side of things, it hasn't knocked your game balance out too much by putting this back in. So this is, as I said, really, really good news. And I'm just gonna finish sort of just talking about the exact details, and just maybe end on a very sort of philosophic note. And I just wanted to get you guys maybe to maybe give us your opinions of how you see FPS going, because we've talked about balance, but I wanted to talk about the direction FPS games are taking these days. In the old days, maybe because of technical issues, FPS games were somewhat minimalistic. It was just you and your gun against the bad guys. Nowadays, FPS games are kind of filled with other elements, and they've sort of morphed into almost like RTSs, like and maybe have become a hybrid type game. It used to be that it was just us trying to outskill an opponent. Now there's all sorts of meta games, and we're trying to out-gadget our opponents or out-spam our opponents. Do you guys see this trend? I mean, do you see games nowadays being different than maybe when you guys started your careers?
Sure. Well, I remember, I'm a big fan of Valve and Half-Life and Counter-Strike are awesome games, and I think those games where it's more infantry style game. Which, by the way, in the new patch you can do infantry only and turn off drones and vehicles.
You can turn off drones.
Yeah, you can turn off drones. Yep.
Awesome.
So pure infantry, and basically you scale the battle point earnings to 0%, and then you set the initial battle points to 0.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's easy to do.
So anyway, so in that, I think that the games, like I said earlier, with the shift to consoles, I think right now we're at a point where we're seeing. Actually, I don't know if you guys heard that Section 8 is letting people rent dedicated servers for consoles, and that's kind of a first, which is very cool. So hopefully there'll be more PC kind of stuff that moves over into the consoles where it can. But yeah, I think that things have changed, and I think it'll be like a little bit of pendulum. I think that the console is still trying to catch up to offering features that the PC gamers have always come to expect. And I think that while the FPS market kind of has matured on the consoles, and then we'll see some nice things evolve there. And hopefully with the options like getting your own dedicated server and having your own kind of settings in the game, very customizable. Those are some of the things that will make a big impact. And hopefully later on we'll see some more modding support on the console side as well as in PC as well. But I think that those are the kinds of things that let the community do more with the games they buy and they love to play.
Is that minimalism ever going to come back though? Do you really see it? Because I mean, have players
Well, look
changed?
At Minecraft, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think totally. I think that people are. I think sometimes publishers and game studios focus on a very small, niche market, but it does, and then it begins to appeal to everybody. But what you're still leaving off is that what most people would probably like is a more scaled down, more fun, just fun game where you don't have a big learning curve to play. You can just jump in and run around. And maybe that's what some of that appeal with the simple social games on Facebook. Maybe that's some of the appeal there, is that it's kind of simple, and they're seeing a lot of people play those games. A lot more people play those games and play the hardcore games. So I think that publishers and studios would be wise to look at that and see how they can make their games a little bit more inclusive.
I don't know if you ever play Minecraft, but I'd love to have a gun in Minecraft and protect yourself.
I'm sure
from the neighbor.
Sure if there's not one, there's going to be one this weekend.
I thought that would be cool. You'd have a whole world of people trying to build stuff, and then other guys trying to knock it down.
Yeah, I think it's tough though. One of the things, and Hayden and Jason and Paul and I were talking last night about some cool upcoming games that are coming out, like Battlefield 3. When you have the quality bar is getting higher and higher for lots of things like cinematics and animations and graphics. I think sometimes that stuff has the potential to cloud out this more basic stuff in the gameplay. So, but we'll see. I think you can do both. I think it just takes smart people. So we'll see.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many emails, IMs, conversations I've had in the past year and a half where people just complaining about games coming out and touting, customization, different face paint that you could put on and all this kind of stuff, and then missing, the essential nitty-gritty gameplay, that the gameplay is boring. And that's what we would like to focus on as FPS gamers, and then gamers who've been with the genre for a long time. We got into the game because of that sort of nitty gritty. And I can imagine that, it's a crowded market, and it's hard to market something like this, as you guys have found, that it's hard to break into. Again. It
is, but one of the things I think that we should be very excited about is a lot of the engine companies like Unreal and Crytek. They're making their engines available to indie developers for basically almost no cost or a percentage of the profits, which I think is great. And we're going to see, I think, in the coming years, hopefully the coming months, we're going to see a lot of cool stuff coming out from smaller teams that don't need to hit the AAA level of quality, but they will going to make a lot of cool, fun stuff. That's what I'm really hoping happens by these new engine models. And of course, there's other engines like Unity that are letting people do lots sorts of cool stuff as well. So I think we're going to see a lot more independent developers, hopefully, because there's just not enough room for a lot of AAA studios.
Well, it's kind of interesting because a lot of them, a lot of the modding community in our sort of genre has really kind of complained that a lot of the AAA titles have kind of shut them out almost completely. And what they've been doing is they've been saying, well, yeah, let's go get those engines. And some folks that even I know have gone out and maybe paid X amount of dollars for whatever to sort of have an engine or whatever, and they're creating their stuff. So it's not like all the modders have sort of disappeared. They've actually gone off and, like you said, become indie developers, which is really kind of an interesting development, I think. We're not seeing mods in games anymore. And to tell you the truth, and I've had modders tell me this, okay, so, before my community strings me up, and puts a noose around me, this is almost a direct quote from the modders that I know. They're telling me they don't really need a mod in a game. They just want to have certain game modes and have them put in there by the developer, because that ensures the most number, the greatest number of gamers will be playing it, so that they can find full servers when they want to play. And that was their idea to begin with. An example of that is an esports mode. I'm not sure if you guys have played Brink, or have you've seen Brink come out recently?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they put stopwatch, essentially a competitive mode right into the game, and I think that is the type of thing that we're looking for. I know our esports community has just gone gaga over that game.
Yeah, totally. I think once you have the basic premise of the game and the gameplay, tweaking those things and adding features as we've been doing with Homefront on the patches, I think is very doable. And I know we're all in it for the long haul, and we are looking forward to continuing to add these kind of features. So I would say that if you guys feel strongly about something getting added to the game, let us know. So we can look at it and talk about it and hopefully prioritize it.
This is all really great news. Like I said, it sounds like the features in this game are just growing by the day, and it seems like you guys are going in a great direction. And I kind of hope you keep the dialogue open with us. And it sounds like you guys have been since day one, really. And it's wonderful to hear from you guys. Paul, I don't know if we've had much to say to you tonight, but I just wanted to know that as the QA guy, you have to implement all these changes. Have they been tough for you to do, or how have you been managing all the change?
I don't know. It's basically just I get to play the game in a different state all the time, so it's kind of neat to see all the changes as they're happening. Plus, my feedback gets to make some of the calls that Jason.
Yeah, Paul's definitely involved in a lot of the design stuff, and he's helped us tremendously. Not only doing QA, he just jumps in everywhere. He's an experienced FPS player and a smart guy. So his input has definitely been valuable to this process.
I just paid him $5
to say that. Yeah,
he's buying me lunch.
Is that Canadian or? I think I totally think Paul and Steve's not on the line right now, but Steve Santarpio over at on the Chaos side, Paul's counterpart for QA, I think have been instrumental, very important to the project, because they have worked very closely with the beta testers and the closed groups, and also when we open things up and when the game went on sale, working with the public, working on the forums. They help us really filter a lot of the noise out and really get to the nitty-gritty of what people are looking for. And then once things get implemented, they keep because they're so in tune with what the community is saying, they're able to really give us good feedback on, this is what they're looking for, this is not what they're looking for. And obviously to make sure it's not breaking anything else in the process. Sometimes we would love to add certain things, but it would just break too many other things. So having a talented QA team is very instrumental for doing the game right.
And what I've loved about this project thus far is that compared to other projects I've been on, everyone has a voice in this project. So those types of collaborative efforts and brainstorming have really kind of got us to where we are, and it's been a unique experience for me, and I'm sure everyone else would probably say the same.
And that's saying something, given the fact that there's one group of folks in New York, the other group in Ontario. I mean, it's not easy to even communicate sometimes in your own cubicle. Between cubicles, it's much more difficult to talk to people on the phone or through Skype or whatever. So kudos to you guys. And I just wanted to thank everybody. I mean, I think Edmar was talking about how he had a lot of respect for Valve. I mean, one of the things that Valve does is just they keep tuning their game. They keep tweaking. They keep asking questions of their community, and I see that with you guys. I mean, instantly, it just seemed like it was just, you're actually inquisitive, but it wasn't. I've seen other people try to do that, and they ask questions, and then they'll tweet, give us your suggestions, and yet the game's already in beta. Do you know what I mean? And they really don't want your suggestion.
Right.
And
it's true. I think I'm not sure why that is actually, because I just don't find it very difficult to communicate with the community and get feedback from them, and I think it should be standard. I'm not sure why it's not.
There are some folks in every community that are a little bit over the top and maybe a little too zealous and a little bit too vocal, and and sometimes it makes it difficult, I think, to have a conversation. And I think with Twitter now, the conversations tend to be a lot simpler for, at least if you have a large fan base. It's just simpler because it's almost unidirectional. You can really filter out a lot of the noise that comes back to you.
That's true. I think that working on a game and hitting the forums, you can see right away that there's a lot of stuff you got to filter through. But even some of the guys who might not have the best way of saying things, usually there's a point somewhere in there, and that sometimes takes a little digging to get to. But of course, you always have some people who just have no point whatsoever and just ranting. But those things are pretty easy to skip.
Yeah, I think it's telling too on the forums how much developers actually are involved with the community. Because when we go on and we do post, we're being called out left, right, and center. Is this really who they say it is? And I see Paul on there every day. I've been on quite a bit myself. Edmar's been on. Even the program team here, addressing concerns on the forums. So it's been great to get out there and canvas for that feedback.
It's refreshing. How's that? Because as I said, we don't normally get this attention, first of all, and to have people listen. And I've been trying to stress with my own community. Our community tends to be very, very vocal. And I just try to stress to people that I think you can get more out of someone if you're using honey than something else. So I think it's a good thing, and I think hopefully we'll develop a long-term relationship with you guys at some point. So it's great to have, as I said, your kind of honesty and care, and it obviously comes out in what you have to say and your actions. It's pretty cool. So I wish you guys all the best, and to all my Canadian friends here, have a great weekend. We're gonna have our first spring weekend of the year here, and so good luck to them. I hope to have you guys back. It was really enjoyable having you.
Thanks for having us. It's
Thank
great.
you.
Always great talking. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys are welcome anytime. Thanks again for a great game, and I look forward to 104.
Thanks.
Good. Hope you enjoy it.
Ciao.
Brother Bashers, Sister Slashers, thanks for listening to Bash. Come to our portal site, bashandslash.com, for more info on gaming. Join our boards and take part in our community. And remember, please support Bash by checking out our sponsors' links or by donating to Bash today. Thanks.